Sometimes, the biggest Hollywood franchises begin with the simplest ideas. In the early 1980s, few people imagined that a low-budget comedy about an unusual group of police recruits would become one of the most recognizable comedy franchises in movie history. There were no superheroes, no spectacular visual effects, no billion-dollar budget, just an unlikely collection of misfits, a mischievous troublemaker, a towering giant with a gentle heart, a fearless drill instructor, a nervous family man, a sound effects genius unlike anyone audiences had ever seen, and an academy willing to accept anyone brave enough to wear the badge. Critics weren't impressed. Many dismissed the film as little more than slapstick comedy. But audiences saw something completely different. They saw unforgettable characters, endless quotable jokes, physical comedy that crossed language barriers, and a cast whose chemistry transformed a modest comedy into a worldwide phenomenon. The film became an international sensation. It launched one of Warner Bros.' most profitable comedy franchises of the 1980s. It inspired 6 sequels, a live-action television series, an animated series, comic books, video games, merchandise, and generations of fans who still laugh at the unforgettable adventures of Mahoney, Jones, Hightower, Callahan, Harris, Proctor, Zed, and the rest of the Police Academy family more than 4 decades later. This is Continent Informer for documentaries, celebrities' profiles, celebrities' news and scandals, political updates and worldwide content across the globe. Today on Continent Informer, we're uncovering the remarkable story behind Police Academy, exploring its surprising origins, revealing fascinating production secrets, discovering how an unknown comedy became a global blockbuster, and revisiting the extraordinary performers who created one of Hollywood's funniest franchises. This is the story of Police Academy. The early 1980s proved to be an exciting period for Hollywood comedy. Films such as Airplane, Caddyshack, Stripes, Trading Places, and National Lampoon's Vacation had demonstrated that audiences were eager for broad ensemble comedies filled with memorable characters and outrageous situations. Warner Bros. Wanted another comedy capable of attracting large audiences while remaining affordable to produce. The result would become Police Academy. Released in March 1984, the film introduced viewers to a fictional city where a new mayor eliminates many traditional requirements for becoming a police officer. Suddenly, anyone could apply. Young or old, tall or short, athletic or awkward, educated or inexperienced. The academy became home to one of the most unlikely collections of recruits ever assembled. Instead of focusing on elite officers, the story celebrated ordinary people who often succeeded despite their flaws. That fresh perspective immediately distinguished the film from traditional police dramas. The idea behind Police Academy originated with veteran producer Paul Maslansky. According to Maslansky, the inspiration came after observing a police academy where recruitment standards had expanded, prompting him to imagine what might happen if virtually anyone could enroll. Rather than treating the idea as serious drama, Maslansky recognized its enormous comedic potential. What if the academy admitted recruits with completely different personalities? What if people who had never imagined becoming police officers suddenly found themselves training together? Those simple questions created endless possibilities for comedy. Maslansky assembled writers Neil Israel and Pat Proft, both experienced comedy writers, to develop the screenplay. Instead of building the story around one hero, they created an ensemble where every recruit possessed a unique personality, allowing audiences to find multiple favorite characters.
And as the buses unloaded, a very kind of zigzag zebra line formed, and I noticed that it was the most diverse group of policemen I had ever seen. There were men and there were women and there were every color of the rainbow and fat and thin. And I called the cadre officer over, a sergeant. He said, well, look, we have a fair employment hiring practice here. And we have to take in virtually everybody that applies to the academy. And then he looked around and he winked. He said, but we can flunk them out after 3 weeks. And that night, I went home and I thought about it. I said, what if a group of these people that were accepted to the police academy, what if they decided that they're not going to be thrown out and they're determined to stay? And the object of it was to put together an ensemble cast of really funny people, people who understand comedy, who have a funny bone. And working with Hugh Wilson casting was one of the great experiences.
That decision became one of the franchise's greatest strengths. Although Police Academy featured outrageous comedy, director Hugh Wilson understood that the characters needed to feel believable. Wilson, making his feature film directorial debut after success in television writing, wanted audiences to care about the recruits rather than simply laugh at them.
The whole Police Academy opus was started in San Francisco. Paul Meslansky got the idea there. He was working on The Right Stuff. And he was somewhere in San Francisco, and there were a whole bunch of people from the Police Academy being used as crowd control.
Each character received distinct strengths, weaknesses, fears, and ambitions. Carrie Mahoney became the charming troublemaker. Larvell Jones amazed everyone with extraordinary vocal sound effects. Moses Hightower balanced intimidating size with remarkable kindness. SGT, Callahan projected confidence and toughness. L.T. Harris served as the perfect authority figure audiences loved to dislike. Rather than mocking its characters, the film celebrated outsiders finding confidence together. That emotional foundation helped elevate the comedy beyond simple slapstick. Finding the right cast proved essential. The filmmakers needed performers capable of creating memorable characters who could potentially return for future sequels. They assembled one of the strongest comedy ensembles of the decade. Steve Guttenberg was cast as Carrie Mahoney, the charismatic troublemaker forced into the police academy as an alternative to jail. Guttenberg's natural charm made Mahoney instantly likable despite his mischievous behavior.
I can't think of a movie where it was really more like a team project.
We had two remarkable casting directors, Pamela Baskin and Fern Champion.
And every time we found a new person, we got very excited about it.
So every day that we would have casting sessions into the office with Hugh Wilson and myself, with either Pamela or Fern, the casting directors in the room, would come the most remarkable characters.
My screen test, it was exciting. I was just starting out. I just got done with Diner, and I wore my father's police shirt from the academy. My dad was a police officer.
Right away, he had an attitude, which was perfect, and we saw it. And the screen test was terrific.
Sorry. Get out of here.
Mahoney is a great character, classic Bugs Bunny, classic fellow who loves to have a great time. Loves to find the good in everybody, and also is a little bit selfish, which makes him very human. Oh, he's somebody who loves pranks and loves to play with authority, and ultimately he becomes authority.
Kim Cattrall portrayed Karen Thompson, providing intelligence, warmth, and romantic chemistry opposite Guttenberg. Michael Winslow became Larvell Jones, introducing audiences to a talent unlike anything Hollywood had ever showcased. His astonishing ability to recreate hundreds of realistic sound effects using only his voice immediately made Jones one of the franchise's breakout stars.
The very first scene for me, when Mahoney and Jones met each other for the first time, and Hugh insisted that this guy was so crazy that he had his own title, his own name. So, Dr. Monsignor Larvell Jones III, M.D. Jr., Esquire.
God damn it! Stop that!
We had heard about Michael Winslow, that he was a stand-up comic, and he was opening for Count Basie in Long Beach. And Fern said, this guy is just terrific. We arrive at the ballroom and Long Beach, it was packed, everybody waiting to hear Count Basie. And up steps Michael, and he gets to the microphone, and there was no sound from the microphone. Michael didn't hesitate for a second. There was a fire marshal in the room, and he said, "Wait a second, folks." He went off the stand, went to the fire marshal, and said, "Do you have a loud hailer?" And the fire marshal said, "Yes, I do." And he did the act with a loud hailer, and it was fantastic. Brought the house down. The Count Basie was just knocked out.
Cadet Mahoney, report immediately to the Commandant's office. Cadet Mahoney.
You've been always, whenever we are anywhere, you have the funniest noises. We can go into a restaurant, we can go into a show.
Keep us out of jail.
The greatest noises.
Former NFL player Bubba Smith brought both physical presence and gentle humor to Moses Hightower, whose intimidating appearance contrasted perfectly with his compassionate personality.
Hugh said then, he said, "Do you want the job?" I said, "Yeah." You know, and he says, "Doesn't pay that much." I said, "I don't care. I want the job." He was basically loved everybody, you know, and showed up. You know, he would just appear, and I kept asking Hugh, "Where am I coming from?" You know, he said, "It doesn't matter. You just show up and help."
David Graff portrayed the accident-prone Eugene Tackleberry, whose overwhelming enthusiasm for firearms became one of the series' most recognizable running jokes. Veteran actor George Gaines transformed Commandant Eric Lassard into one of cinema's most lovable authority figures through his absent-minded wisdom and gentle optimism.
My name is Commandant Lassard. Welcome to the new police force.
He developed as a rather out-to-lunch, dreamy character.
You will be schooled in firearms, police procedures, local laws, and many, many others.
And he's the man in charge, and he's the man with the least idea of what to do. But he always ends up saving the day just by accident. What a wonderful character.
Here at the Academy.
He actually was a totally misplaced person.
George has a past that just goes on, that is so rich and so full. And the man who played Lassard is so full that with an empty character, there isn't any room left. He's filled it up so much.
There was an actor, a French actor, who was partly my inspiration. He was called Jacques Tati, originally a Russian count by origin, a man of great charm and wit, and I owe him a debt of gratitude. A lovely man.
I can't quit. Of course you can. Many, many wonderful people have quit. Many. Commandant?
There was a very nice philosophical moment in the scene with you when you complained to me in the office, remember? Right. And you finally say,
"I'm trapped here?" Well, yes.
And then I look up and I say, "Aren't we all?"
G.W. Bailey created the unforgettable Lieutenant Harris, a strict instructor whose constant attempts to undermine the recruits usually backfired spectacularly. Leslie Easterbrook became the fearless Sergeant Debbie Callahan, combining confidence, authority, and sharp comedic timing into one of the franchise's most memorable characters. Bruce Mahler portrayed the accident-prone Doug Fackler, while Andrew Rubin played the enthusiastic George Martin, adding even more personality to the diverse ensemble. Marion Ramsey, as the soft-spoken yet courageous Laverne Hooks, proved that true bravery often comes in unexpected forms. Together, they created one of Hollywood's greatest comedy casts, although Police Academy appeared effortless on screen, producing the comedy required careful planning. Many scenes involved large groups of actors improvising around carefully structured scripts. Director Hugh Wilson encouraged performers to contribute ideas, helping many memorable jokes develop naturally during filming. Steve Guttenberg often recalled the remarkably friendly atmosphere on set, where experienced actors and newcomers worked together as though they truly were classmates attending a real academy. Michael Winslow regularly entertained cast and crew between takes with entirely new sound effects that never appeared in the finished film. His performances became one of the production's greatest sources of laughter behind the scenes. The actors portraying the recruits also spent time together outside filming, helping build genuine friendships that strengthened the believable chemistry audiences later enjoyed. Because the movie had a relatively modest budget, creativity often replaced expensive filmmaking techniques. The emphasis remained firmly on character interactions, physical comedy, and memorable performances rather than elaborate visual effects. When Police Academy opened in 1984, critical reviews were mixed. Many reviewers considered the humor too broad or juvenile. Some predicted the film would disappear quickly from theaters. Instead, audiences embraced it. Produced for approximately $4.5 million, the film earned well over $140 million worldwide, becoming one of the year's biggest financial success stories. Its enormous profitability surprised both Warner Bros. And industry analysts. The movie proved that audience enjoyment and critical opinion do not always align. Word of mouth spread rapidly. Families recommended it. Teenagers returned multiple times. International audiences embraced its visual comedy and unforgettable characters. Warner Bros. Immediately recognized franchise potential. One reason Police Academy remains beloved decades later is its unforgettable characters. Mahoney represented the charming rebel with a good heart. Jones demonstrated that extraordinary talent can appear in unexpected places. Hightower reminded viewers never to judge people by appearances. Hooks showed quiet courage overcoming fear. Callahan redefined the image of the tough female officer. Tackleberry exaggerated action movie enthusiasm to hilarious extremes. Harris embodied the overconfident authority figure who constantly underestimated everyone else. Lassard became the compassionate leader who believed in giving outsiders a second chance. Every recruit possessed a unique personality. Together, they formed a comedy ensemble unlike any other. Among all the performers, perhaps none astonished audiences more than Michael Winslow. Known as the man of 10,000 sound effects, Winslow possessed an extraordinary ability to imitate nearly any sound imaginable. Machine guns, helicopters, police radios, motorcycles, electric guitars, video games, explosions, musical instruments, animals, even complete conversations between imaginary machines. Unlike special effects created during post-production, Winslow performed nearly all these sounds live using only his voice. His remarkable talent became one of the defining features of the franchise. Even today, audiences continue watching his performances online, introducing entirely new generations to one of Hollywood's most unique entertainers. Few recurring jokes in movie history have become as famous as the Blue Oyster Bar. Throughout several Police Academy films, unsuspecting characters accidentally entered the mysterious establishment, only to discover they had wandered into a lively gay leather bar. Each visit was accompanied by the instantly recognizable tango music, signaling that another awkward comedy sequence was about to unfold. The joke became one of the franchise's most recognizable running gags. While many fans still remember these scenes fondly as part of the film's slapstick style, it's also worth noting that some modern viewers and critics have reassessed them, arguing that elements of the humor reflect stereotypes common in 1980s comedies. Even so, the Blue Oyster Bar remains one of the most talked-about recurring locations in the franchise, and a symbol of its distinctive brand of visual comedy. The success of the first film quickly transformed Police Academy into one of Warner Bros.' biggest comedy franchises. Between 1985 and 1994, audiences received 6 additional feature films. The familiar cast returned repeatedly, while new recruits expanded the ever-growing Academy. The popularity extended beyond theaters. A Saturday morning animated series introduced younger audiences to the characters. A live-action television series followed. Video games, toys, comic books, international broadcasts, home video releases. For much of the 1980s and early 1990s, Police Academy became a worldwide entertainment brand recognized across dozens of countries. Although later sequels received increasingly mixed reviews, they remained commercially successful in many international markets and helped cement the franchise's place in popular culture. More than 40 years after the first film premiered, the laughter continues. Its unforgettable characters remain instantly recognizable. Its catchphrases are still quoted. Its physical comedy continues entertaining new generations. And its unlikely recruits have earned their place among Hollywood's greatest comedy ensembles. More than 40 years have passed since a group of unlikely police recruits marched into theaters and unexpectedly became one of Hollywood's most beloved comedy ensembles. For many actors, Police Academy became the role that defined their careers. For others, it opened doors to decades of successful work in television, film, directing, writing, voice acting, and comedy. Sadly, time has also claimed several cherished members of the Police Academy family, making reunions increasingly emotional for fans who grew up watching the films. Today, we're discovering where the surviving cast members are in 2026, while paying tribute to the unforgettable performers and filmmakers whose work continues bringing laughter to audiences around the world. Steve Guttenberg, Carey Mahoney. At the center of the original Police Academy stood Steve Guttenberg, whose charismatic performance as Carey Mahoney transformed him into one of Hollywood's biggest comedy stars of the 1980s. Before Police Academy, Guttenberg had already appeared in television and several films, but Mahoney made him an international household name. Following the franchise's enormous success, he starred in a remarkable string of hit movies including Cocoon, Short Circuit, 3 Men and a Baby, and 3 Men and a Little Lady. For a time, Guttenberg ranked among Hollywood's highest-profile comedic leading men. Although he stepped away from blockbuster roles during later decades, he never stopped acting. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, he appeared in independent films, television series, stage productions, and reality television while remaining a popular guest at fan conventions. One question followed him everywhere. Would he ever return to Police Academy? Guttenberg consistently expressed affection for the franchise and repeatedly stated that he would gladly participate in a respectful continuation if the right project emerged. By 2026, he remains active in film and television while continuing charitable work, writing, and public appearances. More than 40 years later, Carey Mahoney remains the role audiences most closely associate with Steve Guttenberg. Kim Cattrall, Karen Thompson. Although Kim Cattrall appeared only in the original Police Academy, her career would soon reach extraordinary heights. After leaving the franchise, she steadily built an impressive resume through films, theater, and television before achieving worldwide superstardom as Samantha Jones in HBO's Sex and the City. That role earned multiple awards and permanently established Cattrall as one of television's most recognizable actresses. Since then, she has continued balancing television dramas, streaming productions, stage performances, and feature films while carefully selecting projects that interest her. By 2026, Cattrall remains an internationally respected actress whose career extends far beyond the comedy that introduced many audiences to her talent. Despite her later success, Police Academy remains an important early chapter in her remarkable journey. Michael Winslow, Larville Jones. Few performers have ever possessed a talent quite like Michael Winslow. Known around the world as the man of 10,000 sound effects, Winslow transformed Larville Jones into one of cinema's most unforgettable comedy characters. His astonishing ability to imitate helicopters, motorcycles, machine guns, musical instruments, animals, electronic devices, and countless other sounds without special effects amazed audiences across generations. Following the franchise, Winslow continued performing internationally through comedy tour, television appearances, conventions, and live demonstrations of his extraordinary vocal abilities. He also appeared in films, commercials, documentaries, and voiceover work while remaining deeply connected to Police Academy fans. Even decades later, videos of his performances continue introducing younger audiences to his unique gift. By 2026, Winslow remains active as a performer and one of the most recognizable entertainers associated with the franchise. G.W. Bailey, Lieutenant Harris. If audiences loved Mahoney, they loved frustrating Lieutenant Harris almost as much. Veteran actor G.W. Bailey brought unforgettable energy to the ambitious instructor whose constant attempts to discipline the recruits usually ended in humiliation. Following Police Academy, Bailey built an outstanding television career. He became widely known for roles in series including The Closer and its spin-off Major Crimes, where he demonstrated dramatic range far beyond broad comedy. Outside acting, Bailey became deeply involved in charitable work supporting children with cancer, serving for many years as the executive director of the Sunshine Kids Foundation. By 2026, he remains respected both for his acting career and humanitarian contributions. Leslie Easterbrook, Sergeant Callahan. Strong, fearless, confident. Sergeant Debbie Callahan became one of the franchise's defining characters. Leslie Easterbrook transformed the role into one of Hollywood's most memorable female comedy performances. Following Police Academy, Easterbrook appeared in numerous television series, horror films, and independent productions, including collaborations with filmmaker Rob Zombie. Her willingness to embrace dramatically different genres demonstrated impressive versatility. She has also remained a favorite guest at fan conventions, where audiences continue celebrating Callahan decades after her first appearance. By 2026, Leslie Easterbrook remains one of the franchise's most beloved surviving stars. Bruce Mahler, Doug Fackler. As accident-prone recruit Doug Fackler, Bruce Mahler specialized in physical comedy that often left audiences laughing before he even spoke. After Police Academy, Mahler continued acting while also pursuing writing, motivational speaking, and personal development. Although he gradually reduced his on-screen work, he has remained closely connected to fans through interviews and convention appearances celebrating the franchise. Andrew Rubin, George Martin. Andrew Rubin's enthusiastic portrayal of recruit George Martin helped round out the original Academy class. Following the films, Rubin continued acting in television and film before gradually shifting much of his focus toward business ventures outside Hollywood. While less visible than some of his co-stars, he has occasionally reunited with fellow cast members during anniversary events and fan celebrations. Bobcat Goldthwait, Zed. No character captured pure chaos quite like Zed. With his wild hair, unpredictable behavior, and instantly recognizable voice, Bobcat Goldthwait became one of the franchise's breakout stars. Yet Goldthwait's greatest achievements came after appearing in front of the camera. He evolved into one of America's most respected comedy directors and writers. His films, including Shakes the Clown, World's Greatest Dad, God Bless America, and documentaries exploring comedy and entertainment, earned critical praise for their originality and dark humor. By 2026, Goldthwait continues directing, writing, producing, and performing stand-up while remaining one of comedy's most distinctive creative voices. Tim Kazurinsky, Carl Swiechuk. Actor and writer Tim Kazurinsky joined the franchise as the nervous, soft-spoken Carl Swiechuk. Before appearing in Police Academy, he had already built a successful comedy career as a writer and performer on Saturday Night Live. Following the films, Kazurinsky continued writing screenplays, television scripts, and acting in film and theater. By 2026, he remains respected within the comedy community for both his writing and performances. Lance Kinsey, Proctor. Few supporting characters frustrated Lieutenant Harris more than the overly eager Proctor. Actor Lance Kinsey played the lovable officer with perfect comic timing, creating one of the franchise's funniest recurring partnerships. Following Police Academy, Kinsey continued working steadily in television, independent films, theater, and voice acting. By 2026, he remains active while frequently participating in fan events celebrating the enduring popularity of the series. Brian Tachi, Tomoko Nagata. Brian Tachai joined the franchise as the disciplined Japanese recruit Tomoko Nagata, bringing intelligence, determination, and humor to the later films. Already known for acting since childhood, Tachai later expanded into screenwriting and voice acting, contributing to animated productions and family entertainment. Although he gradually stepped away from frequent on-screen appearances, he remains warmly remembered by fans of the franchise. Scott Thompson Chad Copeland. As Officer Chad Copeland, Scott Thompson became another memorable addition to the expanding Police Academy family. Following the series, he continued acting in film and television while also appearing in theater productions. By 2026, Thompson occasionally participates in retrospective interviews and anniversary events celebrating the lasting popularity of the films. Colleen Camp Kathleen Kirkland. Colleen Camp appeared in the original film as Kathleen Kirkland, one of the Academy recruits. Already an accomplished actress before joining the franchise, Camp continued building an impressive career spanning comedy, drama, producing, and independent cinema. Over the decades, she has appeared in dozens of films while also producing acclaimed independent projects. By 2026, she remains an active and respected figure in Hollywood. The surviving Police Academy family. Beyond the principal cast, many supporting performers, stunt professionals, writers, editors, musicians, and crew members helped transform Police Academy into a global phenomenon. Convention reunions continue bringing surviving cast members together, offering fans opportunities to celebrate one of the most successful comedy franchises of the 1980s. These events demonstrate the enduring affection shared among many of the performers, even decades after production ended. Remembering George Gaines. No tribute would be complete without honoring George Gaines, whose portrayal of Commandant Eric Lassard became one of the franchise's emotional centerpieces. His gentle humor, kindness, and unforgettable delivery made Lassard one of cinema's most lovable authority figures. Gaines passed away in 2016 at the age of 98. His remarkable career stretched across film, television, Broadway, and opera, leaving behind an extraordinary artistic legacy. Remembering Bubba Smith. Former NFL champion Bubba Smith transformed Moses Hightower into one of the franchise's most beloved heroes. Despite his enormous size, Hightower consistently displayed compassion, humility, and quiet strength. Smith passed away in 2011, but his performance continues inspiring audiences who appreciate both his humor and humanity. Remembering David Graff. Few characters embodied enthusiastic dedication quite like Eugene Tackleberry. David Graff's energetic performance became one of the defining highlights of every sequel. Graff tragically passed away in 2001 at only 50 years old. Fans continue remembering his infectious enthusiasm and unmistakable comic energy. Remembering Marion Ramsey. Soft-spoken officer Laverne Hooks became proof that courage has nothing to do with physical size. Marion Ramsey's warmth and charm made her one of the franchise's most beloved performers. She passed away in 2021, prompting heartfelt tributes from surviving cast members and fans worldwide. Her unforgettable line deliveries remain among the series' most cherished moments. Remembering George R. Robertson. Canadian actor George R. Robertson portrayed Chief Hurst throughout much of the franchise. His commanding presence provided the perfect balance between authority and comedy. Robertson passed away in 2023, leaving behind a distinguished career in both Canadian and American film and television. Remembering Art Metrano. As the accident-prone Lieutenant Mauser, Art Metrano created another unforgettable comedic authority figure. Despite suffering a devastating spinal injury in the late 1980s that left him partially paralyzed, Metrano continued performing motivational shows and inspiring audiences with his resilience. He passed away in 2021. Remembering Deborah Lee Scott. Actress Deborah Lee Scott, who appeared in Police Academy 3, back in training as Cadet Fackler, enjoyed a successful television career before her untimely passing in 2005. She remains fondly remembered by fans of both the franchise and classic television. Remembering Tab Thacker. Former wrestler Tab Thacker brought memorable physical comedy to Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. His larger-than-life personality perfectly suited the franchise's playful tone. Thacker passed away in 2007, but continues to be remembered for his warmth and humor. Remembering producer Paul Maslansky. Without Paul Maslansky, there would have been no Police Academy. His simple but brilliant concept evolved into one of Warner Bros.' most successful comedy franchises. Maslansky passed away in 2024, leaving behind a remarkable producing career that influenced generations of filmmakers. His vision created characters that continue entertaining audiences more than 40 years later. Remembering director Hugh Wilson. Director Hugh Wilson understood that comedy works best when audiences genuinely care about the characters. His direction balanced outrageous humor with surprising heart, creating a film that connected with viewers worldwide. Wilson passed away in 2018, but his influence on American comedy remains enormous. His work on Police Academy demonstrated that ensemble comedies could succeed through memorable characters rather than expensive spectacle. More than 4 decades after the original film premiered, the Police Academy family continues bringing joy to audiences around the world. Some stars remain active. Some have retired. Many beloved performers have sadly left us. Yet together they created something timeless. A comedy franchise built not only on jokes, but on unforgettable personalities, enduring friendships, and the idea that ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things when given a chance. More than 40 years have passed since a group of unlikely recruits first walked through the gates of the Police Academy. Many comedy films have come and gone. Some enjoyed success for a few months before fading into history. Others received sequels but were eventually forgotten. Yet Police Academy has endured. Generation after generation continues discovering Carey Mahoney's quick wit, Larvell Jones' astonishing sound effects, Moses Hightower's quiet strength, SGT, Callahan's confidence, Commandant Lassard's gentle leadership, and Lieutenant Harris' endless frustration. The franchise may have begun as a modest comedy released in 1984, but over time it became something much larger. It became part of popular culture. Its characters became instantly recognizable. Its jokes became timeless. And its influence stretched far beyond the 7 films that audiences watched in theaters. One reason Police Academy remains so entertaining is that it never relied on only one style of humor. Instead, the films combined physical comedy, verbal jokes, memorable characters, visual gags, and outrageous situations into a unique comedic formula. Steve Guttenberg's Carey Mahoney constantly outsmarting authority figures became one of the series' greatest pleasures. Whether he was impersonating voices, creating elaborate practical jokes, or finding creative ways around impossible situations, Mahoney always managed to stay one step ahead. Michael Winslow's Larvell Jones amazed audiences every time he transformed ordinary scenes into unforgettable performances using nothing but his voice. Police sirens, helicopters, machine guns, car engines, musical instruments, even complete action sequences. Every appearance reminded audiences that they were witnessing a talent unlike anyone else in Hollywood. Bubba Smith's Moses Hightower often created laughs simply by standing quietly while everyone else underestimated him. His enormous size contrasted beautifully with his gentle personality. Whenever Hightower finally decided to take action, audiences knew something spectacular was about to happen. David Graff's Eugene Tackleberry became another fan favorite thanks to his over-the-top enthusiasm for weapons and police equipment. His unwavering seriousness made even the most ridiculous situations even funnier. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Harris repeatedly attempted to prove he was the Academy's greatest authority. Unfortunately for him, his plans almost always ended in embarrassment. Those running rivalries helped connect the films together, giving audiences familiar jokes they looked forward to seeing again. No discussion of Police Academy would be complete without mentioning one of cinema's most famous recurring comedy locations. The Blue Oyster Bar. Throughout multiple films, unsuspecting characters accidentally entered the mysterious nightclub, only to discover they had walked into an establishment very different from what they expected. The instantly recognizable tango music became the signal that another unforgettable comedy sequence was about to begin. Audiences quickly learned that if someone opened the wrong door, laughter would almost certainly follow. The Blue Oyster Bar became one of the franchise's signature running gags, appearing in several films and earning a lasting place in comedy history. Over the years, however, perspectives on these scenes have evolved. Many fans still remember them as classic moments of slapstick misunderstanding that reflected the broad style of 1980s comedy. At the same time, some modern viewers and critics have pointed out that parts of the humor rely on stereotypes about LGBTQ+ people that would likely be handled differently in a contemporary film. That shift in perspective illustrates how comedy, like society itself, changes over time. Even with those changing interpretations, the Blue Oyster Bar remains one of the franchise's most recognizable recurring locations, and an enduring symbol of Police Academy's distinctive style. One reason the chemistry between the recruits felt so natural was because many cast members genuinely enjoyed working together. Steve Guttenberg has often spoken warmly about the supportive atmosphere created during production. Unlike many ensemble films where actors rarely interact outside their own scenes, the Police Academy cast spent considerable time together during filming. That camaraderie translated directly onto the screen. Michael Winslow frequently entertained everyone between takes with entirely new sound effects that never appeared in the finished movies. Cast members often struggled to keep straight faces whenever Winslow improvised. George Gaines became something of a father figure to many younger actors. Despite portraying the absent-minded Commandant Lassard, off-camera he was widely respected for his professionalism, kindness, and generosity. Bubba Smith, despite his intimidating appearance, developed a reputation as one of the friendliest members of the cast. Many colleagues remembered his constant laughter and willingness to help newcomers feel comfortable. Years after filming ended, surviving cast members continued reuniting at conventions, anniversary screenings, interviews, and fan events. Those reunions demonstrated that the friendships formed during the 1980s remained genuine decades later. For fans, seeing the surviving recruits together has become almost as heartwarming as watching the films themselves. Looking back today, it is easy to underestimate just how influential Police Academy became. Before the franchise, many police-themed films emphasized serious investigations or gritty action. Police Academy turned that formula upside down. Instead of elite officers, the heroes were misfits. Ordinary people. Underdogs. Individuals who were underestimated by almost everyone around them. That approach inspired countless later ensemble comedies centered on unlikely heroes learning to work together. The franchise also demonstrated the commercial power of recurring comedy characters. Rather than relying solely on new jokes, each sequel invited audiences back to spend more time with familiar personalities they already loved. The films proved that memorable characters often matter more than complicated stories. Their influence can still be seen in family-friendly ensemble comedies that combine slapstick humor with optimistic messages about teamwork and second chances. Although Police Academy was an American production, its popularity extended far beyond the United States. The films became especially successful across Europe, Latin America, Australia, Africa, and parts of Asia. Much of that international appeal came from physical comedy. Unlike dialogue-heavy humor that depends on language, visual gags, facial expressions, and Michael Winslow's sound effects could be enjoyed almost anywhere. Television reruns introduced entirely new generations to the recruits. Home video expanded the audience even further. Later, DVDs and streaming services ensured that the films remained accessible long after their theatrical releases. For millions of viewers, Police Academy became part of childhood. Parents who laughed at the films in the 1980s later introduced them to their children and grandchildren. That multi-generational appeal is one reason the franchise continues surviving decades later. Will there ever be another Police Academy movie? Perhaps no question has followed the franchise more consistently than this one. Will Police Academy return? Over the years, several reboot and sequel ideas have been announced or discussed. One proposed reboot was attached to producers including Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, but the project ultimately did not move forward. Steve Guttenberg has repeatedly expressed enthusiasm for returning as Carrie Mahoney if a sequel honoring the original spirit of the films were developed. Other surviving cast members have also spoken positively about revisiting the franchise. However, as of 2026, Warner Bros. Has not officially announced or begun production on a new Police Academy feature film or television series. While the possibility of a reboot or legacy sequel remains open, there is no confirmed project beyond occasional comments from cast members and long-standing industry interest. Any claims that a new film is definitely happening should therefore be treated as speculation unless officially announced by the studio. Why fans still love Police Academy? Comedy trends constantly evolve. Some jokes age better than others. Some references become outdated. Yet Police Academy continues finding new audiences because its greatest strength was never simply the jokes. It was the characters. Mahoney represented the lovable rebel. Jones celebrated unique talent. Hightower demonstrated quiet strength. Hooks proved courage comes in many forms. Lassard believed everyone deserved a second chance. Even Harris, despite his constant failures, became strangely lovable through his determination. Audiences recognized pieces of themselves in these unlikely recruits. The message remained simple. Nobody is perfect. Everyone deserves an opportunity. And sometimes, the people least expected to succeed become the greatest heroes of all. That optimistic spirit continues resonating with viewers around the world. More than 40 years after the first Academy class assembled, the franchise's impact remains impossible to ignore. 7 feature films. A television series. An animated series. Books. Video games. Countless television broadcasts. Convention reunions. And generations of devoted fans. The Police Academy graduates never became superheroes. They never saved the universe. They simply reminded audiences that courage, friendship, humor, and determination can overcome almost any obstacle. In doing so, they earned something even more valuable. A permanent place in comedy history. In 1984, a modest comedy about unlikely police recruits quietly arrived in theaters. No one expected it to launch one of Hollywood's most successful comedy franchises. No one imagined audiences would still be quoting its jokes more than 4 decades later. Yet here we are. Steve Guttenberg, Kim Cattrall, Michael Winslow, G.W. Bailey, Leslie Easterbrook, Bruce Mahler, Andrew Rubin, Bobcat Goldthwait, Tim Kazurinsky, Lance Kinsey, Brian Tache, Scott Thompson, Colleen Camp, and the unforgettable performers we have sadly lost: George Gaines, Bubba Smith, David Graff, Marion Ramsey, George R. Robertson, Art Metrano, Deborah Lee Scott, Tab Thacker, producer Paul Maslansky, director Hugh Wilson, and so many others, collectively created a comedy legacy that continues to entertain audiences across generations. Their work reminds us that the best comedies are not remembered only because they make us laugh. They endure because they introduce us to characters who feel like old friends. Every time we revisit Police Academy, we are reminded that greatness sometimes comes from the most unexpected places. A prankster can become a hero. A timid recruit can discover courage. A sound effects expert can become a legend. And a group of unlikely cadets can become one of cinema's most beloved families. Thank you for joining us for this special Continent Informer documentary. If you enjoyed this journey through one of Hollywood's greatest comedy franchises, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Continent Informer, and turn on notifications for more in-depth documentaries exploring classic films, legendary television shows, unforgettable casts, and the remarkable stories behind the entertainment that shaped generations. Until next time, This is Continent Informer for documentaries, celebrities profiles, celebrities news and